Fears of inflation sends the U.S. stock market tumbling as trade relations between the U.S. and Canada appear shaky. Ukraine accepts a ceasefire offer, taking a step forward on the path to ending the war with Russia. And analysts say empowering women with technical skills in Africa's tech sector can significantly benefit their communities. All this and much more coming up on today's Africa 54. Talk of tariffs combined with fears of inflation sent the U.S. stock market tumbling Monday and Tuesday. Tough talk between U.S. President Donald Trump and the Premier of Canada's most populous province, Ontario's Doug Ford, highlighted the fraught trade relations between the United States and Canada. VOA White House correspondent Carolyn Presutti explains.
Day two, another plunge of the U.S. stock market. President Donald Trump escalating an already tense trade war. The president threatening to double tariffs on Canadian metals after Canada's intent to raise the price of electricity exports to the U.S. At the end of the day, both men backing down, leaving stocks shaken. The president still plans the original 25% tariffs on Canada to promote products made in America. For the past 36 years, Ramon Perez has managed Taberna del Alabardero. His business lived through COVID and the tariffs of President Trump's first term.
Remember 2018, 2020, it's going to be all right. Politician is a game, right?
The Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped nearly 900 points Monday and nearly 500 Tuesday. Losses felt in Roger Frichette's retirement account.
It's really tough to see all that value disappearing so quickly. I think much of what has been gained the entire year is now probably gone.
People are jumping to conclusions, and it's a little overreacting right now. So we'll see. Give it like 30 days to see what the effects of these tariffs and everything. Because even President Trump keeps changing his mind. So who knows?
Financial analysts say it's that unpredictability that stings.
It's hard for investors and for businesses and for American consumers to sort of know what the future policy environment looks like. Getting more certainty there, I think, would be helpful to people.
When asked if he predicts a recession, President Trump said, "I don't see it at all." Many, though, are looking to the stock market to answer that question. Carolyn Presutti, VOA News, the White House.
The Republican majority U.S. House of Representatives has taken a key step toward funding the federal government past a March 14th deadline. The short-term spending measure, also known as a continuing resolution, narrowly passed, but still it has to pass the Republican majority Senate to be signed into law. Appropriations bills are required to pass a 60-vote threshold for passage in the Senate, which means Republicans will need to secure a Democratic vote. The U.S. House went out of session for the rest of the week, starting Tuesday afternoon, putting pressure on senators to pass their version of the measure. The United States is praising Ukraine for accepting a ceasefire offer and taking a step forward on the path to ending the war with Russia. Moscow is expected to weigh in next on the American proposal. VOA's Veronica Balderas Iglesias reports.
In Saudi Arabia Tuesday, Ukrainian negotiators accepted a proposal by a U.S. delegation to pause the Russia-Ukraine war for 30 days.
We made an offer that the Ukrainians have accepted, which is to enter into a ceasefire and into immediate negotiations to end this conflict in a way that's enduring and sustainable and accounts for their interests, their security, their ability to prosper as a nation.
U.S. President Donald Trump rewarded Ukraine's positive first step toward peace, said U.S. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz.
The president has decided to lift the pause on aid and on our security assistance to Ukraine going forward, and that's effective immediately.
After embracing the truce proposal, the Ukrainian delegation reiterated its commitment to peace.
For the people in the world, it's necessary once again to understand, not Ukraine started this war. but Ukraine ready for just and lasting peace.
Earlier Tuesday, Ukraine launched a massive drone attack against several Russian regions. Moscow said the attack could hinder future peace negotiations.
There are no negotiations yet, so there is nothing to disrupt yet, although the emerging trend can indeed be significantly damaged.
Despite the tensions on the ground, it is expected the United States will move forward with its plans to present the ceasefire proposal to Russia next, in the hope that it will kickstart the process to achieving a lasting peace agreement. Veronica Valderas Iglesias, VOA News.
Donald Trump Jr., the eldest son of the U.S. president, met Serbia's President Aleksandar Vučić in Belgrade Tuesday. In a post on Instagram, Vučić, who has repeatedly backed the policies of the current U.S. administration, says he and Trump Jr. discussed the relationship between Serbia and the United States and the importance of economic and political relations between the two countries. The visit comes as Serbia tries to balance seeking support from the United States and other Western powers to join the European Union with its ties with Russia, its historical ally, and China, a major investor in infrastructure, mining, and energy. Angola has announced plans to act as a mediator in the conflict between Congo and the M23 rebel group. Congo President Felix Tshisekedi was in Angola Tuesday to discuss a potential peace process. Angola says it will begin to establish contacts with both the Congolese government and the M23 rebels, with direct negotiations to be carried out in the coming days. For more on the mediation effort, I'm joined live from Luanda, Angola, by Florindo Chivukut, an Angolan political analyst. Hello, Florindo. Welcome again to Africa 54.
Thank you, Easter. Good morning to you.
Right. This has been a protracted war that has killed thousands of Congolese people. What's Angola's strategy to end it?
Well, Angola is engaging in mediation efforts between the Democratic Republic of Congo government and the M23 rebel groups. And this has been led by President João Lourenço. And the strategy involves contacting the M23 rebels to facilitate direct negotiation with the DRC government.
Now, the Congolese president paid a visit to Angola's president, João Lourenço, on Tuesday. What more do we know about their talks?
Well, it has been interesting. So far, it's twice in this month, President Tshisekedi has been visiting Angola for peace mediation talks. So what we know is that President Tshisekedi's visit to Angola is for peace mediation. And these talks are related to conflict in Eastern DRC and the mediation between the DRC government and the M23 rebels.
Now, what else do we know? Do we know if the M23 rebels, the representatives from the Democratic Republic of Congo, and also the government, possibly representatives from Rwanda, may be able to join in the meeting when they discuss the peace negotiations and how to move Congo forward?
That's an interesting question. Angolan president said it will be contacting the M23 rebels to facilitate direct negotiation with the Democratic Republic of the Congo government. Now, this suggests, just make an assumption here, this to many suggests that the M23 rebels are intended to be present or involved in the talks. The animation also between the Angola President João Lourenço and President Tshisekedi, but there's no indication so far that there will be a representation from the Rwandan government. We don't know yet, and we can only speculate, but so far we haven't heard anything about the Rwandan government be present during this mediation.
Florida, right. What do you know about, past relationship between Rwanda and your country of Angola? Even though now there's this issue of the M23 and Rwanda saying, we don't back these people. What is the relationship like for the three countries prior to all this chaos?
Well, honestly, we haven't seen, we always had an interesting relation with the DRC. But with Rwanda, not as close as with Rwanda. Now, with DRC, because we share borders and so in terms of security, immigration, and both states have been engaged in dialogue for decades. Now, for Rwanda, I'm not so sure. And I mean, just to be clear here, I mean, since those talks, President Lorenzo mediated those talks. I haven't seen the Rwanda government willing to be on the table to have those discussions. It looks like this is the piece of the puzzle that we are really missing to make sure that these peace talks can have some solid, tangible change on the ground, at least a ceasefire in Eastern Congo. But it's really hard. I mean, it just from what we have seen, I mean, there's not like a cozy relationship even before that with the Rwanda government, unless I'm missing something. But more so with DRC than the Rwanda. But Rwanda government have to be in the table because they are instrumental for the peace agreement for a lasting peace agreement in Congo. Otherwise, I mean, we're going to keep seeing the conflict escalating every single day.
Definitely. It would be very good to see all the parties involved to end this chaos in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Florindo, thanks very much for your insight. Florindo Chipkut is an Angolan political analyst. The Chagos Islands are one of the last vestiges of the British Empire, officially known as the British Indian Ocean Territory. They are currently home to a key U.S. military base. But under pressure from the United Nations, Britain looks set to hand sovereignty of the Chagos Islands to Mauritius. Critics say the deal will compromise the security of the region in a face of a growing threat from China. Henry Ridgewell has more from London.
The Chagos Islands, about 2,500 kilometres east of Madagascar, have been a British colony since 1814. They've been administered from Mauritius, which argues it was illegally forced to give them away in return for its own independence in 1968. Britain forcibly expelled the Chagos Islands population in the 1960s and 70s to make way for a US military base on Diego Garcia, one of the largest islands in the archipelago. In 2019, the International Court of Justice said Britain should cede control of the islands to Mauritius. Now, London is seeking to finalise such a deal. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer told lawmakers last month it was vital to secure the future of the US base.
Without legal certainty, the base cannot operate in practical terms as it should. That is bad for our national security, and it's a gift to our adversaries.
It's reported that Britain will cede sovereignty of the Chagos Islands and pay Mauritius around $116 million a year for 99 years to lease back Diego Garcia and allow the military base to remain. US President Donald Trump said last month that he was inclined to approve the deal. It also has the backing of India, which has close ties to Mauritius. But there are security concerns. Britain's Conservative opposition party has described the proposed plan as a strategic disaster for Britain. China has a burgeoning economic relationship with Mauritius. Some fear those ties could compromise the US base on Diego Garcia. Evan Fowler is from the Inter-Parliamentary Alliance on China, which focuses on threats from Beijing.
Mauritius owes China quite a lot. It uses that to seek sort of political advantage. That area is strategically important to us, and the Chinese understand this too. The Chinese have already been active militarily around the Chagos Islands.
After their expulsion, many Chagosians settled in Mauritius. Thousands also left for Britain. Frankie Bontom and Maxwell Evanor are with the advocacy group Chagosian Voices. They argue Mauritius has never had a rightful claim to their homeland and object to Britain's proposed deal to cede sovereignty.
Once again, we are ignored. People are discussing the future of our homeland without us. We feel like history repeating itself.
We now find ourselves our very own identity, our very own self, being given to someone else by made of policy without asking us. We are still colonized. We are the lost colony of Africa.
Under the terms of the deal, Chagossians and their families would be able to return to the outer islands in the archipelago, but not to Diego Garcia, which would remain off limits. The Chagossians are eager to return home, but they appear powerless as geopolitical forces shape negotiations over the future of the islands. Henry Ridgewell, VOA News, London.
We're excited to hear what you think about Africa 54 and all our VOA Africa programs on our website at voaafrica.com. Still to come, empowering young women to pursue careers in technology. Stay with us.
On the next Straight Talk Africa, corruption is plaguing many African countries, and it impacts every aspect of citizens' lives. Each year, the Corruption Perception Index presents an overview of how countries worldwide are doing. In 2024, Sub-Saharan African nations scored the lowest, but there are a few countries that made remarkable progress. Join me, Vincent Makori, for an in-depth discussion on the cost of corruption in Africa.
In other news, hospitals across Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo that once spearheaded the country's response to the Mpox outbreak are now facing a setback in detecting the disease and offering treatment following the advance of M23 rebels in the region. The Mpox emergency is worsening as the fighting between the M23 rebels and Congolese troops escalates in Eastern Congo. In South Africa, a bus lost control and flipped on a highway near Johannesburg's International Airport Tuesday, killing at least 16 passengers as some were thrown from the vehicle. A spokesman with the nation's transport ministry says reports indicate that 11 people are critically injured and 24 have moderate to serious injuries. Officials are not yet able to determine the cause. And China and Iran and Russia conducted joint naval drills Tuesday in the Gulf of Oman near the strategic Strait of Hormuz, the narrow mouth of the Persian Gulf, through which a fifth of all crude oil traded worldwide passes. The area around the strait in the past has seen Iran seize commercial ships. A unique wildlife management effort in Malawi is underway at Majete Wildlife Reserve. Conservation experts are performing birth control methods on lions. The goal is to control the lion population and ensure antelopes and other prey species continue to thrive. Lamek Masina reports from the Wildlife Reserve in the Chikwakwa district.
The lions scramble for food, but evidently they are getting enough, as wildlife experts say the lion population here has grown to over 100. The experts say the population boom will likely lead to a decline in smaller species the lions prey on.
We haven't seen any significant impacts on prey populations yet. However, based on learnings and other reserves all across the continent, we know that those impacts will come. So in order to avoid those impacts from happening, we want to make sure that we reduce our lion population to a reasonable size.
The target is to reduce the lion population at least by half. The Majete Wildlife Reserve is home to various animal species. Authorities say animals at risk of depletion include rare species of antelopes, elands, and hartebeests.
Every now and then we see something, out of the ordinary, such as a sable. But in general, it definitely seems to be waterbuck buffalo and warthog being taken the most.
Greg says so far, 13 adult males and 15 adult female lions have received contraception.
We first requested in 2022 to have contraception of females. It was a deslorilin implant that went in between the shoulder blades. Then vasectomizing the male lions started in about May last year.
Some animal welfare campaigners fear the contraception methods may harm the animal's health. They say moving the lions would be a better option. Conservation experts say they haven't seen any side effects from the contraception and say that in Malawi there aren't enough first-year reserves to safely put the lions.
So it would be irresponsible to move lions to reserves that don't have fences. Now, the only reserves in Malawi that have actually got fences right around the reserve are the AP Parks run reserves. And the other one that we've got in Malawi is Lwande National Park. But Lwande's got its own number of lions, and their numbers have also increased.
In the meantime, authorities say with such safety concerns, contraception remains a better option to manage the booming lion population in Malawi. Lamek Masina, VOA News, Chikwawa District, Malawi.
A World Bank report reveals that women represent less than 1/3 of the global technology workforce and are often in the minority at major tech companies. Analysts believe empowering women in Africa's tech sector can significantly benefit their communities. Africa 54 technology correspondent Paul Ndiho joins us now with more. Hello, Paul.
Thanks, Esther. The gender gap in STEM is particularly troubling in Africa, with women representing only 4%. I spoke to Eugenia Bwadi, an author and founder of STEM She Can, and her aim to change this by empowering young women to pursue careers in the technology space. Earlier, I spoke to her. This is what she said.
I love the theme for this year, which says accelerate action. And that for me means that enough of the talking. Now let's put action to our words. And as you said, yes, women are not necessarily celebrated. So when you look at these awards that are given for science and technology, women take about only 4%, which is a very, very low number. Even when you come into our institutions, our schools, you have a lot of girls aspiring for STEM subjects or STEM schools. But as you go higher in the academia, they dwindle down. As in, when you're in junior high, we have a lot of girls doing well in class. When you go to senior secondary school, we have less girls contributing to science. And then when you go to the tertiary, it's even worse. And that has a lot of things contributing to it. Lack of mentorship, lack of even sponsorship or awareness that girls can do it, and a lot of bias and myths surrounding why girls cannot do so. All these contribute to why girls are not celebrated during these times. And I think this theme this year is going to help change all those things.
You've done an incredible job of trying to reach out to these young ladies across the country. What is it going to take for other women in this space, women engineers, women techies, to reach out to these young people and tell them, hey, it's okay to be a woman, it's okay to be in this space?
They don't see the importance of mentorship. When they see us, they know they can be us. And so I remember before I started my whole journey in mentoring in science and technology, once I was in my cover also, I used to work full-time as an engineer. So I was in my full suit and I went to the market square. And as soon as I got down from the car with the gentlemen who were with me, I saw that young girls started looking at me in a strange way. And I think in their heads, they were asking, what job does she do? Who is she? And that brought my awareness to, oh, maybe because they don't see me or see people like me, it doesn't even click in their head that they can be that or they should aspire to that. And so when they see me playing such a vital role, now it becomes real for them. Now they can ask questions and say, how did you get there? And so for women like me who are in the industry, it is very, very important to make them see us.
You've also written a very a bestseller book on how to empower these younger children, especially people who are interested in this space of STEM. Do you care to talk about it?
So it's a book called I Can Be ABC for STEM. I am not just passionate about teaching STEM, but also teaching it at the early childhood. The earlier we start, the earlier they begin to change their mindset and begin to believe that they can and fall in love with subjects like science and math, which we are told are difficult, especially for women. And so I go into the kindergartens and the lower primaries and I show them that I can be ABC. So from A to Z, they have 2 professions which features both male and female in that same profession, wearing the same suit. And so I don't have engineer as a man and a nurse as a lady. No. I have a male nurse and a female nurse. I have a male engineer and a female engineer. And so when they begin to see that, and it's an affirmative book. So it says, I can be a nurse, I can be an engineer. And it tells you what an engineer does, what a doctor does, how they save the world, and so on and so forth.
If you are to talk to your president today about STEM in Ghana, what would you tell your president?
I'm super grateful that you have taken it upon yourself to continue the legacy of the previous government in STEM education. It excites us, but there's so much to do. And I hope that you will listen not only to those in power or in government, in parliament with you, but you will listen to those of us on the grassroots, the NGOs, the STEM network, all those who are helping schools and local people to build on their STEM, to build a nation that rests on STEM, arts, and leadership. We pray that you would have a meeting with us or include us in any of the policies that you are making going forward. Imagine Ghana with some 40% of women doing science and technology, being confident to do the job that you're doing. A lot of more women graduating and entering into these professions. Ghana stands a better chance, and that could be a legacy you and I can both boast about.
Eugenia Boadi is an author and founder of STEM She Can. That's today's report. Back to you, Esther.
Thanks, Paul. Be sure to join Paul Ndiho each Wednesday for his technology report right here on Africa 54. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, thanks for watching.